We do things as a team, gentlemen. Full speed!
In a town driven by competition.
Coach, you reckon these are the boys gonna take us back to state?
If I was to tell you that, y'all wouldn't have anything to talk about.
The last thing anyone wanted.
Getting home late.
Can't you just make room for your daughter and football?
Was a distraction.
Hey, Einstein, throw it over here. Come on, throw it. Hey, coach, he took our ball.
That boy has been rolling by here for a long time now.
No, I don't want the football. Why don't you bring it by practice league? I'll find you something to do. See the young man over there? He goes by radio. He's gonna be helping us out for a while.
Try to see things my way.
Morning, Hannah. Hit radio.
Till I can't go on.
What exactly is wrong with it?
He the same as everybody else, just a little slower than most.
It's radio. What pants I put on?
Just grab something.
How about this one?
Those look fine, radio.
Okay.
Wrong and still think that it.
You got yourself a distraction needs dealing with.
Radio! Damn it!
Quite a show you put on out there tonight, Coach. Just wonder if you're running a football program or a social club.
We're not gonna be able to take you on a bus today. Some folks just don't understand yet, but they're gonna catch on, believe me.
Why on earth are you doing this?
I figure it's the right thing to do. Gary Powers is released from the Soviet Union. True or false?
False!
What'd you say, radio?
False!
I know we haven't had much chance to talk.
Radio needs what you're doing more than I do.
You play with heart and never stop believing in each other.
It's just better if we do things the way we used to.
You take him out of this school, you might as well just take his life from him.
I'm not so sure we're trying to help somebody here.
Never a mistake to care for someone.
Well, the truth is, we're not the ones been teaching radio. Radio's the one been teaching us.
The jaunty cap is on.
Yes.
This is my older man cap. I think only older men should wear these caps.
I like it. Or children.
I'm moving the mat. Or small children trying
Who
to
are
sell
selling
you.
newspapers.
Or covered in chimney dust. Yeah.
I like it.
I think it works for me.
It does.
Jaunty. I don't know what it's called. Like it's not a scally. I think this is different specific style.
I don't know.
Anyway, whatever. It's just hiding my shiny head, right? So, welcome to Movie Umpers. I'm Bob Sham.
I'm Angela.
The sounds you hear may be dogs. And we do this thing called Movie Roulette Reviews. Mm-hmm. It is where Angela will pick a little piece of paper out of a hat, unravel it, and we have a set amount of predetermined categories that I've made lists of movies on. And when we pick that category, then we randomly select a number that is on that list, and we pick a movie from it. The last time we did this, you picked the category called A Challenging Performance for Everybody. Let me clarify what that is.
Yes.
It is movies in which non-mentally disabled actors play people with mental disabilities.
Yes.
Let me clarify here. We're not going with like autism. It has to be pretty hardcore autism, you know. We're not talking about movies where the actors actually have certain things like Down syndrome. There are Down syndrome actors and they're as viable as anyone else. That's not who we're talking about.
No.
We want...
Do we? Want's a strong word.
We want... yeah,
We're
want...
watching...
actors.
The list is made of...
You know, I'm putting the question out there, and I'm sure this has happened, but I just don't know where it is, and I'm sure it will come up. Has anyone who doesn't have Down syndrome ever played someone with Down syndrome?
Whoa.
I can't find it yet, but I'm convinced that it's out there somewhere. I really am. Maybe it's a foreign movie, something like that, but I've got to find it. Listeners, if you have any idea, we have a list of movies of people playing whatever vague mental disabilities are out there.
Even in this one in particular, they never say. what's going on.
I think it's just, sometimes it's just, they just are.
Absolutely. Some people are just, have a slower mental, like, capacity for learning or understanding, or limited capacity.
And this movie is perfect because as we go into November, we want to stick with a little comfort food, a little family friendly things, right? Mm-hmm. And this is a family film, right?
Yeah.
This movie we picked, Radio, directed by Mike Tollin. I prefer the porn parody, Fucking Radio, but this one is pretty good too. Angela, wake up. Yes, we're not watching Fucking Radio, we're watching Radio. Radio, starring Cuba Gooding Jr., Ed Harris, Alfre Woodard, and Deborah the Wing Woman Winger. Can't get enough of that Deborah Winger.
And
am I right?
Guy from
American Dad.
American Beauty.
Yeah, American Beauty. That was a closet homosexual.
Yeah. He's also an asshole in this movie.
Yeah.
He was the asshole of the 90s.
Now, Radio's based on a true story, as a lot of these movies are, to help with the emotional buffer of it. Based on a man named James Kennedy, who they called Radio.
Yes.
His real story kind of starts off in the 60s. This one seems to happen in the late 70s. And it signifies that as by mentioning the election of Jimmy Carter and like comically going through bullet points over the radio of things happening at that time.
Yeah.
But yes, James Kennedy, he actually lived to 73, passed away in 2019, was truly a fixture at this South Carolina high school football game. Apparently it was true that he was enrolled in the school for a little bit. I feel like that's something that maybe you could pull off at another time, but not really today.
Sure.
Of someone who's grown, who goes back to high school.
Yeah, being able to be in the classroom with students who are underage and you're a grown man regardless of the situation.
That plot point, I feel like I kind of understood, like, look.
Why Alfre Woodard was like,
I mean, we're talking about Southern public schools in the 70s or at 60s and the actual radio's time in the South. So I don't know what the standard on special education courses in public schools was. I could imagine maybe it wasn't that great, but it just seemed like, how did Radio not go through some kind of program in that span? His mother had to work as a nurse and his father passed away. We established that.
Yes. Has an older brother who's
that
moved away.
That we never see.
Never meet him.
We see Radio's mother, but no one else. This movie is about the good white people in Radio's life.
This is what some refer to as a white savior film.
Oh, this is classic white savior film, right?
Yes.
And, you know, there's something interesting about these movies because there is a certain manner of, I use this word loosely, courage, and the idea of an actor displaying someone with mental disabilities. Like, what are the choices they make? You're watching this movie and you're like, what is Cuba Gooding Jr. ad-libbing here? What is he throwing against the wall here? Was there a scene they cut where Cuba went up to Mike Tollin and was like, hey, what if I like try to eat a bug or something like that? You know, and Mike Tollin, by the way, the director, I think this is one of his few only feature films. Old heads who know us from our old podcast, The Documenteers, early episode, I don't blame anyone for not knowing it, but we discussed a 30 for 30 film that Mike Tollin did called Small Potatoes, Who Killed the USFL.
Ah.
And that was a Mike Tollin movie. And
he just likes small football stories.
Yeah, well, the United States Football League, which is now defunct, he did the 30 for 30 telling that story.
Yeah.
And he also did the story of Radio. And you got these bullies. He gets bullied a little bit, this Radio. And it's the 70s and in high school, he's got these bullies and not one of them calls him Gadio. Not once.
No. They actually only say the R word one time in this movie, which in actuality, I'm sure it was thrown at him constantly.
That's the most insincere part of this movie, is when Ed Harris hears the R word and he winces. Like, literally, there is nonprofit organizations at this time.
It's literally
with
what
the word.
It was called at the time.
They just learn more slowly than we. but they can learn with help. Support the work of your local association of the National Association for Retarded Children.
That they threw that around.
Like a common thing to be
That
said.
word was said over and over again.
He earns money. He pays taxes. He's just like you. ARC, the Association for Retarded Citizens.
Don't throw us away.
Ed Harris's character, in the real life, with no vindication in his heart, probably threw that word around without even thinking that it was an insult.
In
just
his
a state
younger
of fact.
days, you mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We were kids, people still said it. Like, honestly, truly, not rudely. Like, it wasn't rude. It was sort of as we grew up, it became a word that was not to be used any longer. And we don't.
When we were older.
Yeah, but when we were kids, it was the word people said.
As a 90s teenager, that word and the word gay would be used to stupidly describe just about anything, right? You just throw that word out. And I was a dumb teenager. I'm not going to pretend like I said everything right my whole life. I do confess to being a perfect human now.
You're right. It was high school, though, or like teenage years.
Yeah.
Because I do remember there being a point at which you were like, oh.
That's good.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah, well, when you're getting into the 2000s and you're meeting some nice liberal hottie girls, they don't like to hear those words. So that we had to be like, oh, we're not going to get pussy if we call everything gay or R-worded.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That changes. That'll change a man.
Yeah. They do also leave it very vague in this movie as to how old radio actually is at this point.
It's true.
I'm sure they leave it vague because of them also setting it in the wrong time period.
I feel like Cuba,
all of that kind of stuff.
I feel like Cuba looks very young in this movie.
He looks very young, but there are moments when you're like, oh, he's probably like mid-20s.
This is post Snow Dogs and Jerry Maguire. Like, Cuba is on the come up. Mm-hmm. And you'll notice that if you look at his filmography, that after this, the leading spots fade away.
You know, one thing I will...
The Tropic Thunder explanation, we all know it.
Yeah.
And it does kind of apply, right?
Yeah, you know, one of the things, and I'm like reticent to even like compliment the way he portrayed this man because he shouldn't have been playing this role. Whatever, we know this now. We know this. But
he might have regrets.
I will say that one thing I thought was interesting and different than some of the other portrayals that we've seen, people when they are not mentally challenged. This is hard to like get all these words out because I'm trying to like not say anything bad and like use the right phrases. But anyway, whatever. He didn't do the classic like I'm just gonna like twitch all the time. There's this thing. It's like the What's Eating Gilbert Grape Leonardo DiCaprio thing where he's always like with his nose. Like a lot of people like do that. They pick like a thing to like constantly be like pulling at something. And he does have like mannerisms. Yeah. But it seemed as though he really took time to, I don't know what I'm saying. Maybe he like spent time with James. He could have spent time with James Kennedy though and like actually really like emulated him. So it wasn't as much of a caricature, though it is, but it wasn't as much of a caricature as it could have been if he was just trying to be like, oh, I'm going to pretend to be someone who's not real, who's just a fictional character.
I will point out that Cuba Gooding Jr. earned a Golden Raspberry Award nomination for Worst Actor, and the same year won an NAACP Image Award for Best Actor. It must have been heavy pickings that year, so for the NAACP to hand him that award. Like, look, all we got is this white savior movie. Let's just give it to him. Let's just give it. He worked hard. You can tell.
Literally in this movie at one point.
Yeah.
Say.
Some of you don't know or don't care about all that radio's learned over these past few months. But the truth is, we're not the ones been teaching radio. Radio's the one been teaching us.
Radio taught us.
That's the part you're looking for. That's the part you want out of these movies. Because as I was saying before, to finish my thought, which I always give half a thought and then finish it later, is that, you know, it does seem, there seems to be some measure of courage in a quote-unquote normal person playing someone with intellectual disabilities. But every aspect in this type of movie is completely unbrave, almost so middle of the road and safe in such a way that is like, it becomes challenging to even truly talk about the movie. Because though it may hit that heartstring as you know it will, it does seem to just be so convenient in so many ways. The amount of adversity is just enough to where it's not completely just fucking with your head. But he does have bullies here. And Radio, James, he's pushing his shopping cart. He's going like jackass style. He's riding that shopping cart. He's got his arms stretched out because that happens a lot in like, you know, inspirational movies. Someone's got to like have their arms stretched out.
I was so scared. Because half the time you see shit like that, something terrible happens. City of Angels. And so...
when I think I've mentioned it before, that I saw that movie on a date. This is senior year of high school. And when Meg Ryan gets hit by a logging truck...
You laughed.
Going down the bike with the hand stretched out, with her eyes closed, and gets hit by a logging truck. Yes, I laughed, and my date was maybe a little embarrassed that I laughed at that. Because she was feeling the romance, the love. You know, that movie is based on a Wim Wenders movie called Wings of Desire. Wim Wenders, who directed Paris, Texas.
Can we watch that movie?
It will happen next year.
Hell yeah.
Promise.
I like Wim Wenders.
We've got a...
he's an S-tier director.
He is. Wim Wenders very good. And I've never seen Wings of Desire, and I've been really excited to see it for a while.
That'd be cool.
Sometime next year, we will be taking a European vacation.
Ooh.
In movie form. I would never laugh at anyone with any mental disability. People with Down syndrome are some of my favorite people ever. But I am going to laugh at anyone who is playing someone with a mental disability on screen because I'm sorry, there is something that is weirdly unintentionally funny. But admittedly, I did not laugh during this movie as much as I thought it would. I really maybe laughed more at the hokey writing and dialogue more than anything else.
Because it hit every stereotype of a movie like this.
This is what I'm saying.
You know, the privileged white family who adopts or takes under the wing the person who needs help for whatever reason that is. Well, it's different in different movies, right? But then you've got like, they've got their biological children who are obviously like white, privileged kids who are getting like good grades, but they're not getting enough attention from their daddy because he's spending all his time with radio.
That got so tacked on, that little
and then the kid at some point has to realize like, oh no, this kid needs my dad. And now I'm in 1000%.
Radio needs good white people. He needs these good white people in his life.
Yeah. And then there's the people who like the guy, the American Beauty guy. He just like blames the fact that the football team can't win on the fact that the coach is hanging out with radio.
Nobody else gonna say anything. I sure as hell will. You got yourself a distraction needs dealing with.
A distraction? Is that what you think radio is?
Well, you're damn right I do.
Come on now, Frank.
It's really dumb.
I mean, the team's at 500. They think they could do better. His son is a bully who, at the very end, comes around to respecting radio.
And thanks, radio.
But early on, they literally throw radio in a shed and tie him up and throw him in a shed.
Disturbing.
That's kidnapping. That's abducting.
Fucking bullshit. He's like tied up. They had obviously gagged him, but he'd gotten out of that, and his hands and feet were tied. That's torture.
And of course, the coach punished them by just making them practice hard.
They should have gotten kicked off that fucking team.
But it is kind of realistic in a small town environment
because they don't want to lose the game.
They would mostly get away. They essentially did get away with that. Yeah, you had to run more drills. Big fucking deal.
Who cares?
And they still tricked them into that once you think they're reformed, they bully him into walking into the girls' locker room.
Yeah, and for a little while, they're actually like being shitty to him in ways that are not obvious.
Mm.
You know, like walking past him and hitting him in the head with like their helmet and being like, "Oh, sorry, radio, sorry."
Yeah, there's a montage.
But they're being dicks still. At the
There's
beginning.
a weird montage where radio might as well be like Jerry Lewis in one of his movies. Like it's kind of played for laughs. How like
it's like slapsticky.
Oh, radio's not good at catching the ball for the punts.
But
It's
he's
like,
pretending to do the drills.
he's like boo 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 boo, but everyone loves him. And of course, Ed Harris's character is incorporating radio more and more into his life, and in a measure to protect him, even so much as bringing him around to the school. And it does benefit radio. It does work for him, and they kind of do something that makes it like a technicality that he can be on the coaching staff for this football team indefinitely.
Yeah, and also when football season's over, radio is very sad. The assistant football coach is the basketball coach, and so radio gets to go hang out with the basketball team. Which is where the boys bully him because Coach Ed Harris is not around.
But yeah, anyone could be a part of like a coaching, like that does seem like a genuinely positive thing.
Yeah, they
for
do make him
James Kennedy
coach.
In real life. It gave him that purpose.
Yeah.
But there is just a feeling of like strutting him around at the same time. Like it benefits Kennedy, but it also benefits all the people around him.
Well,
they learn from him.
Well, and
he's teaching them.
Radio's the one been teaching us.
Right.
The only time it's really said
Mm.
is when Alfre Woodard is concerned about him going on the school bus because she's like, I don't even know how old he is. I don't know what's going on with him. Like, what if he has a seizure? We don't know the full, we don't know what his medical condition is. And he's a grown man. So, like, we can't put him on this bus and take him out of town, even though his mom had said yes or whatever. And they're talking, and I don't remember if it's that conversation or another one, but she genuinely cares about him, but she also has to care about every child in this school. And she does say to him at one point, she's like, is this good for him? Or is he basically a glorified mascot? And the coach is like, I think you know me better than to think that. And
I think
like,
the answer is both. It's both, truly.
I mean, he does, bring up morale at the games. And obviously everyone ended up in that town and school loving him. Yeah. Right? And that really did happen for real. And I'm glad for that man in real life,
Yeah.
But
is this a matter of someone's getting lifted up, but it has to be emotionally convenient for everyone around him to be lifted up? I mean,
it wasn't emotionally convenient for everyone.
I mean, we're in the South here. The real radio story happened in a tumultuous time in terms of transitioning from out of segregation to signing the Civil Rights Act. There's no doubt that for a lot of people, he is an emotional prop because none of that would be his condition. Does kind of mascot him, whether people intend that or not, because there are plenty of people that would need help that don't have the mental condition, but because of their race are not going to achieve it on an equal level.
And
especially at these times.
There were not a lot of black people in the school. There were a couple teachers, and Alfre Woodard is a black female principal. And I don't know in the time when this was really set if that would have even been something that would have happened. Maybe that's another reason they moved it up forward so they could
Schools that is a good question because schools are definitely integrated by the time we hit the end of the 70s. That's kind of what I want to know. Like, is this in the story of radio? I know this kind of began in the early 60s. I'm forgetting off the top of my head when integration in a broader scale occurred.
Yeah.
Was radio taken in by a coach in a school that wasn't even integrated?
The way they play it, and I wonder how much of a conscious decision this was. It seems like it had to be. So you've got black teachers, you've got Alfre Woodard is a black female principal, and you do see like other people in the town because there's this part where radio gets a lot of Christmas presents from the town and he's giving them out to people in his side of town, which is kind of the poorer side of town, and there's like black folks sitting on the porch.
That is a sweet scene.
It is very sweet. But
he gets arrested.
He does get arrested. But the thing that's crazy about this movie is that they don't talk about race.
No.
As part of the problem, and it had to be.
I think the cop arresting Radio for giving out presents and questioning where he got the presents to begin with
was the closest
was
they got.
There like, we need a race relation kind of bit here.
Yeah.
And without talking about it very directly, we can do it with this scene.
Yeah.
But Radio, he's freed from that prison because the cop is a new cop, right?
He doesn't know.
And he locks Radio up. And then when the other cops are like, oh, we got to go see who this guy he brought in is, and they see it's Radio, and they're like, oh shit. And it's because Radio is associated directly with the most important thing in this town.
The football.
And that is the football team. And it really seems like everyone's on board except for the dude from American Beauty. And he has the power, he's the banker, right, to rally into these meetings. It seems like he has the sole power to round up these meetings where we can question the validity or if Radio is a distraction for these games. Mm-hmm. And it ends up being Ed Harris going, you know what, I quit being a football coach.
But I'd like to still be a teacher if that's
Yeah, I'd like to be a teacher. And
I'd like Radio to come to school with me every day.
And a funny thing is, in real life, James Kennedy, Radio, was always a fixture. The school went through many football coaches over the years. And James Kennedy was, in real life, always a part of the program. Mm-hmm. So it didn't even matter who was there and who wasn't. Because Radio was always there in real life.
Yeah, but he had to the movie had to have him make a stand and choose Radio over football.
And of course, there's that scene where Ed Harris is in bed with his wife, and then the camera pans, and you see Radio just sitting on the foot of the bed. And it's like, and the wife is questioning it politely, but Ed Harris is like, he's got nowhere to go. Oh my God, I'm sorry. That's from fucking Radio. I'm sorry. Let's get back to the actual.
You're not sorry.
I'm getting these scenes confused.
You did that on purpose.
Fucking Radio is fantastic, though. I'm not used to plot in those kind of movies, and that might be structured better than the actual Radio, you know? It's just rare that the porn parody, kind of touches bait. It actually also touches on race relations a lot better as well.
You know, I think the only parody porn that I've ever seen, and I didn't see all of it, was Lord of the G-Strings. And we just watched part of it as a joke.
There's an Edward Penis Hands.
I would check that out just to see it. That's hilarious.
I saw a porn parody of your parents' wedding video.
Can you not? The fuck, Robert?
I'm sorry. Oh. Anyway.
Let's move it along, please.
I mean, what more can we say about this? I mean,
There's nothing else.
You can probably take that description and put it in an AI algorithm and have the whole script put out for you. So let's judge.
It is an algorithm. It's an algorithm.
This is an algorithm movie.
Pull at you because, and I was like,
this is an AI movie.
Watching this movie.
This is an algorithm movie before algorithm movies.
And I was mad watching this movie because, like I said, I think that's what happened with the real man and the way he got to live his life and be part of that football team. I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
I think that's so great. I was mad at this movie for making me feel for getting me caught up in this story a little bit. I kept going no, this is fucking Cuba Gooding Jr. that he's playing this part.
It's like eating the whole bag of M&Ms. There is a satisfaction there, but this is a mistake and it is wrong, truly.
Yeah.
But we'll keep going. Okay,
so what do you rate this movie?
I think it's the definition of right down the middle. Okay. I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Okay.
It's designed to be like that. It is the ultimate mid movie. I'm not going to say that it's complete drizzling shit.
No, it's not.
But it's also not great. It is designed to be mid as hell. And that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little lower. I would like to watch a documentary about the actual person, maybe. But I just don't feel like a movie. Well, I mean, but instead of. That would have been more enjoyable.
What is your score?
2.
Okay. 4.5 out of 10 for Mike Tollin's Radio. It's a C film if there ever was one, but it's still better than The Flash, so we will put it above The Flash.
It is better than The Flash. Look, it doesn't take much to be better than The fucking Flash.
Right there, right above The Flash. And under Kate Plays Christine. Radio.
There was some good music in this movie.
Well, it's like Forrest Gump. It's like, hey, let's just clusterfuck you with music of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I said this is like an algorithm movie, but like there has been some lessons learned in Hollywood and actors portraying people with full-on mental disabilities. You know, we're going across a range of, you know, you got the Gump intellectual disabilities, but it's not hardcore. It's, like I said, it's the Tropic Thunder explanation, and it kind of does work. We all know that explanation. But look, I had to throw out a theme that we had this month. I was going to do Peter Bogdanovich and Sybil Shepherd movies.
Right.
And 3 of those movies are not even available for rent. Like, they're just out of print, and I didn't feel like digging and paying 30, 40, 50, 60 bucks for a copy of At Long Last Love, okay? Yeah. So I had to scrap it, but we will get to the last picture show and a special edition drop at the end of the month because of the themes and what that movie's about. I've been wanting to see it for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think there is important themes of that are beneficial to us as we are getting older and also as people who love movies. So I think there is kind of a point that we will get to when we finally get to the last picture show. But we are going to pick a category that will represent at least 50% of our theme for the whole month.
Oh my gosh.
You understand?
Yeah, I do.
So our theme for November is comfort food. And so for our Monday drops, we're going to be discussing movies that we picked from our childhood that really meant a lot to us. You know, there might be a little bit of emotional biases in some of these movies we'll pick. We're kind of long overdue for, like, you know, we've often tried to pick movies that we haven't seen, that we've heard good things about, that we want to learn things from. But for this month, comfort food, things we're familiar with. And also, whatever you pick from this hat.
Let's do it.
And whatever category you pick from this is at least half of what we're going to do all month long, okay?
Yeah. Come on, exsanguinators.
You want vampire movies. All right, well, good luck.
No! Did you put...
What's up? What does that say?
A challenging performance for everybody.
Okay.
Did you put this in there every time?
Listen. There's about...
Is this a stacked...
There's 3... It's down to 3 categories in here. That is one of them. I put 2 labels per each category.
I thought... Okay.
So here's what we're going to do.
You couldn't pick the same thing back to back.
I kind of have to throw out that rule.
Okay.
And I've actually thrown out some categories because I think they're kind of too boring.
All right. So we got a challenging performance for everybody.
No, look. I'm just giving you the option since there's 2 per category in each one.
Uh-huh.
If you want to draw again, since we just did a challenging performance for everyone, then I'll let you do so. But what you pick is final. So it's up to you. You can keep what you picked, or you can draw again. I don't blame you either way. Do you want to pick another category? Is what I'm saying.
Sure.
You get a MacGuffin. We always get a MacGuffin. So try again.
I didn't. We've never done that.
But this is final. This is final.
I somehow don't trust you.
We're making these rules. We're making these rules up.
I don't trust you.
What are you talking about?
Because it's also the same thing again. You stacked this shit.
I did not.
You stacked this shit.
I did not.
Because I just also drew a challenging performance for all. I'm being played, you guys.
There's about a 30% chance that you would have picked that based on how you getting played. You're calling me a carny?
I mean,
you're calling me a carny?
The shoe fits.
So I guess our theme, and this actually coincides with our comfort food because these are family-friendly movies.
Family-friendly, feel-good, everybody learns a lesson movies.
So it keeps it clean. We're keeping it fam all month long with more challenging performances for everyone.
I forgot that I wasn't supposed to curse as much during...
Going forward from here on.
Okay. Because I said fuck a lot.
This first week is just setting the table.
Okay.
So to speak.
Okay.
So all month long, we're going to be watching movies from our childhood and movies in which actors play people with intellectual disabilities. All right? So check the show notes for links and other places to find us. And what do you think? What are your favorite challenging performances for everyone? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe. Let us know. What do you think of Radio? Is anyone out there like Radio is 10 out of 10? Let me know. Argue passionately on behalf of this movie. I will not respond with any essay telling you you're wrong. I will accept it. Just explain why you think it's a 10. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. And I love you very much. Since we're going into a family-friendly month, maybe Death to All Traitors, is that appropriate? Say maybe Life to All Lovers.
Okay. Life to all lovers.